please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, welcome to Overdrive. You're watching the show with me, Sohini Dutt. Now in India, we end up taking family vacations, especially in the summer, to beat the heat. And in Overdrive, we are no different. But what distinguishes us from everyone out there is that we have a set of cool wheels for our road trips. Now, this is the third edition of the Overdrive Winter Drive Special, and this is part of the Live Life in Overdrive expedition. Take a look.
You know, Kashmir and this area is always referred as heaven on earth, and it's a sheer fortune to be here and drive these cars.
The idea was to give participants a taste of the supreme comfort that Mercedes-Benz vehicles offer, as well as let them indulge in their sure-footed handling and off-road capabilities. The course we had set up offered a mix of all these scenarios. But besides this, the route also gave the participants a chance to interact with the pristine nature of Kashmir and peek into the village life of the locals.
I'm a huge Mercedes fanboy. I love the cars today. The cars we drove today. The GLC 43 captured that element of daily driving comfort and the performance as well.
Mercedes gives a person a status symbol. You get an AMG for a very good price. If you compare this same spec with any other brand, you won't get this value at all.
One of my favorites was the GLE 350. It's a great package. It's got everything in there in terms of the power. So much more than I would have expected.
This particular experience was an extremely different feel altogether. Be it the rough terrains, or driving it on the ice, or the local roads what we went through. Machines are really good. They are really happening and trustworthy cars, sturdy.
It's a really wonderful event. Good of off-roading, hill climb, hill descent, through the countryside roads and all. It was really good. Awesome experience.
So Kashmir being a first for me, the experience has been wonderful. Just from when you land, it's a gorgeous place, especially the area we're staying at.
Kaipur was very good, very pleasant stay, and the best thing was the heated. The whole hotel was heated, so it was very comfortable.
The road leading down to Tanmarg is a spectacular ribbon of tarmac, replete with flowing corners and tall coniferous trees dotting the landscape. It's here where the participants reveled in the sweet handling of the GLC 43 AMG, GLC 220 diesel and the GLC 300.
Especially the GLC 300 which I rode yesterday was very nice. It was very nice, and the handling of that particular product is exciting. To drive in roads like Jammu and Kashmir, these curved roads.
Driving by villages, we were greeted mostly by curious stares, while some stood in awe of the convoy of Mercedes-Benz SUVs driving past them. There were also a few children who were excited by the sound of the GLC 43 AMG reverberating against the walls. But the SUV that stole the show was the burly G63 AMG. One could hear it battling down the road from a mile, and its monstrous exhaust note was loud enough to capture the attention of everyone in the vicinity.
Love for the brand came in from my early years, I would say early 80s in fact, and I would look at these 123 and 124 series cars and I would just drool over them. You become part of the landscape. You know, it's a very dynamic perspective to see. And yes, of course, needless to say, the AMG and the Mercedes SUVs that we drove here are top-notch, state-of-the-art machines. So, you know, they give driver both comfort and satisfaction of driving. So I would say 10 on 10 for that.
The off-road driving section was pretty challenging, and the snow made plowing through very difficult. To compound matters, our SUVs were running on stock tires without snow chains. It was the ultimate test of the Mercedes-Benz homemakers system.
I think the GLE could take a lot of beating, and even that suspension lift helped us a lot, and a lot of those modes where you have snow, slippery and all did help the GLE a lot. The car is excellent and the noise is really good and the performance is really good. Acceleration, like, it moves, like, it is not like unlike the other cars, like, you'll have to throttle it completely.
For many participants, this was the first time they had experienced something like this. To drive a luxury SUV up a rocky incline with a sheer drop on one side is not something one does every day. But the ease with which the Mercedes-Benz SUVs tackled the terrain made most of the drivers look like it was something they were accustomed to.
Definitely gonna miss the weather, the views over here. Like the routes we took today was really scenic, and most of the time I was struggling to keep my eyes on the road, rather I was looking around here and there. So it's a beautiful, beautiful state. Like this is the first time in Kashmir I don't feel like leaving.
From smooth tarmac to snow-covered trails, they had driven the Mercedes-Benz SUVs on every terrain imaginable and come away mighty impressed by the GLC, GLE and the AMGs.
Years ago, the iconic British brand Land Rover came into being. Since then, the SUVs have seen an evolution in terms of design as well as technology. But one thing that has remained constant over the years has been its tremendous off-road capability. Now, we're here in the land of the Land Rovers to celebrate the 70th anniversary of this brand.
Land Rover. For decades, it's been the vehicle of choice for those who wanted to drive up to destinations that were beyond the capabilities of a regular automobile. They played a pivotal role in not only transporting people to some of the remotest parts of the planet, but also helped establish civilizations. From 1958 onwards, several of the Series 1 Land Rovers were brought to the Darjeeling district for people to travel between Manibanjang and Sandakpur. A treacherous terrain, only the Series 1 could manage to conquer all the challenges. We are here in the land of the Land Rovers to celebrate the 70th anniversary of Land Rover. The route from Manibanjang to Sandakpur has been the lifeline of people living along the stretch. This 30-kilometer, 6,000 feet uphill climb also forms the international border between India and Nepal. At present, a majority of the route has been concretized to facilitate movement of two-wheel drive vehicles. But the rest of the route is just the way it was decades ago. To get to Sandakpur, on what is essentially a pony trail, the locals require a vehicle that can not only tackle the treacherous terrain, but also have enough power to haul people and essential items up steep gradients. And while at it, remain unfazed by the changing weather conditions that switched between sun and snow at the drop of a hat. The Land Rover Series 1 was the only vehicle that was up to the task. About 300 of these Series 1 Land Rovers were brought to this region in 1958 onwards, and to date, over 40 of these ply on this route. The Land Rover Series 1 as a vehicle stands in stark contrast to the modern day Land Rover, especially the all-new Discovery. Alright, so we are in the all-new Discovery now. This one gets all the bells and whistles. I have air suspension, the latest generation of the Land Rover system. But my favorite feature is this, the cameras. The road leading up to Sandakpur is super narrow, like this place. And the Discovery Well is about 3 inches wider than the Discovery Sport. So I'm having to squeeze through the narrowest of gaps. But these cameras here are making life really simple and easy for me. And I'm having a great time. The final few kilometers before Sandakpur were extremely challenging. And the rain wasn't helping matters. However, the Land Rovers marched forward with ease. Among the many people that own and drive Land Rovers, Samantha Dong stands out. A third-generation owner in her family, Samantha is extremely proud of the capabilities of her Land Rover Series 2A.
Well, it's all because of my grandfather and my father. They've been my biggest inspiration. Because my grandfather, he ran his livelihood with this Land Rover, and where our family has reached right now is all because of the Land Rover. Land Rover in and around Darjeeling, it's been the basic source of livelihood, you know. People run these Land Rovers, run the houses, they send their kids to school, colleges, so
Everything in the Land Rover.
It depends on the Land Rover.
After driving the Discovery, getting behind the wheel of the Land Rover Series 1 was akin to taking a trip back in time. Right, so from the luxurious and modern interiors of the Discovery, we are now in the Land Rover Series 1, and I have to say, it feels rather special. It is bare bones basic, purely mechanical car, and it just feels so pure to drive. I now truly understand why the Land Rovers have ruled this land for years, for almost half a century. And no wonder this is the most dependable workhorse that the locals swear by. From the Land Rover Series 1 to the present-day Discovery, the iconic British mark has come a long way. While there is a massive leap in design and technology, the one thing that has remained constant over these 70 years is the go-anywhere ability of a Land Rover. And the credit to the success of the Land Rover goes to the Series 1. From a sketch in the sands of a beach in Wales, drawn by the Wilkes brothers, to establishing a civilization in and around Sandakpur in India, the Series 1 and the Land Rovers that followed have forged an everlasting bond with the people who've driven them.
It's truly amazing how this one brand has managed to win the hearts as well as the respect of countless generations till date. Time then for us to shift gears and check out what's making news in the world of auto.
It's a very important day today as we are here in Mumbai for the launch of an all-new car. The all-new Honda Amaze is here. Honestly, I love the way the 2018 Honda Amaze looks, and here is why. The grille, the front, it looks so nice and modern, and look at it. It takes inspiration from the City and the Civic, and this entire assembly looks very sleek. The powertrain options of the 2018 Honda Amaze remain unchanged. There's a 1.2-litre petrol and a 1.5-litre diesel. What has changed, however, are the transmission options. There is a CVT in addition to the manual. Now the prices are out. It starts at 5.59 lakhs, ex-showroom, pan-India.
Now BMW is all set to sandwich its competition with a two-pronged approach, which is spearheaded by the BMW 5 Series as well as the BMW 6 Series sedan GT. Now Rohit drove the ladder to find out just what it brings to the table.
Last year, during the rainy season, at this very spot, we kicked off a comparo shootout between the business luxury sedans, the A6, the E-Class and the 5 Series. Now, we already know that the A6 is a very large car, and then Mercedes-Benz trumped it with the exclusive long wheelbase variant of the E-Class. So you see, both those cars put a lot of pressure on BMW. Now, if BMW would have responded with a roomier 5 Series, probably that car wouldn't be a driver's delight like it is today. So BMW decided to take a two-pronged approach. They decided to let the 5 Series B maintain its character and then created a roomier sedan, a roomier variant, which is this, the 6 Series GT. We are in times when car makers are testing newer waters, from alternative propulsion to never-seen-before body styles. Not so long ago, they decided to merge a lift-back body style with the sassy lines of a coupe, and thus was born the Gran Turismo line. Given the affiliation of the 6 Series with the coupe forms, it didn't take long for BMW to realize that the largest GT belonged in the 6 Series classification and not in the class of the 5 Series. The result is the new 6 Series GT that replaces the 5 GT that was based on the previous generation of the 5 Series. Not only that, the new car also addresses the 5 GT's controversial flabby design and cleans it up with sleeker styling and tighter lines. The face resembles the new 5 Series, gets a similar grille with active aero flaps, and the three-dimensional detailing for the headlights and taillights helps in further reducing the visual bulk. Look closely at the wheels though, and you realize that this is an enormous car. Even the 18-inch rims are dwarfed by the car's size, and the distance between the front and rear wheels, otherwise known as the wheelbase, is quite large. The rear seat of the 6 GT is actually quite a comfortable place to be in. To begin with, you get a lot more legroom. I have a passenger sitting right in front of me. The seat is extended quite a bit backward, and still I have plenty of space for my feet, for my knees. Headroom isn't a problem at all. You also get this lovely panoramic roof, which also adds to the airy space or the feeling of airiness inside the cabin. Another interesting feature that should help this car take on the E-Class is the reclining seat. You can recline the seat back by a certain degree. Of course, it's not as extreme as what you get in the E-Class, so you can't really completely stretch out and sleep off, but it is a nice feature to have, especially on long distance journeys. It will contribute towards the overall comfort of the back seat. The dashboard, in typical BMW design, is upright and tilted towards the driver. It has a new age fanfare of touch-sensitive buttons for the air conditioning and the latest iDrive system with support for gesture controls and wireless Apple CarPlay. The audio quality is on par with its peers and should keep most audiophiles happy. Another interesting feature in the 6 Series is the suspension setup. That you don't feel a thing, it just went over a speed hump. You have air suspension in all 4 corners. But the interesting feature is the driving modes. Now you get driving modes in cars of this category, of course, but you also get a Sport Plus mode in most driver-focused BMWs. Here in the 6 Series, because comfort takes a precedence over driving dynamics, you also have a Comfort and a Comfort Plus mode. So the Comfort Plus mode will essentially soften up the suspension. If you're driving over undulated surfaces or if you're driving over bumps, it will try and make sure that you don't feel a thing here in the back seat. And that's, I think, a very good thing to have. During our tests, the 6 GT 630i returned an overall fuel economy of 7.93 km to a litre, while highway runs in Eco Pro mode averaged at about 10.63 km to a litre. With a tank capacity of 68 litres, that translates to a driving range of 540 to 720 km on a full tank, which is quite good for a petrol tourer. Like most new BMW cars that have a 30i suffix, this badge 2 points towards a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine under the hood. It's a petrol motor, and in this particular car, it puts out a little under 260 PS of power and churns out a healthy 400 Newton meters of torque. Now, unlike the older BMW cars that had a 30i suffix, the engine in this particular car isn't very vocal about its potential. It makes its nice whiny sound only at the top revs, and that is where it will put a smile on any petrol head's face. Lower down, it isn't very vocal, it's quite muted. 0 to 100 claims BMW comes in about 6.3 seconds. In our test, we did it in about 6.7 seconds. But the more interesting fact is, we also tried this test with a full house and with all their luggage. And guess what the time was? 6.9 seconds, only 0.2 seconds slower with a full house. So in terms of performance, this little 2-litre 4-cylinder engine is quite impressive. Summing this up is very simple. If you want a BMW that is going to be chauffeur driven for most of the times, and then you want to spend time behind the wheel once in a while, and when you do that you want to have a smile on your face, I think the 6 Series GT does make a lot of sense in the business sedan category. This of course is the petrol variant. At some point there'll be a diesel variant as well, and at some point in the future there'll also be the 640i and hopefully in the M Sport trim that we saw at the Auto Expo, and that is something that I'm looking forward to.
Well, that was the last story from us on this week's episode of Overdrive. But remember, we like to hear from you, so send us your feedback, comments as well as suggestions on Twitter, on Facebook, or even on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed just yet, do so. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye and many thanks for watching.